you need to build credibility. Yes, people follow those that they can respect, those that they can understand, those that keep their promises. How do you do this? If you promise someone that you're going to do something, your team members, make sure that you keep those promises. They follow those who can keep action to their words, right? Words are very powerful, especially when it comes to leadership. They can either break someone or build on something. So you need to make sure that you keep your words. That is how you build credibility. That is how you influence people. The second thing that you need to do is understand their needs, right? If you're trying to understand someone, then you have to be patient enough. You have to give them time to understand what do they desire, what path are they moving towards, because that is the only way that you will have the power to influence them, because people are more likely to open up if you are ready to listen to them. You have to give them that patience, right? Ask questions like, what do you prioritize most? What are you trying to work on? What are you trying to build? In that moment, you can then come up with questions that can influence them. You can then point out what is good and what is bad. Because if you don't build that trust, if you don't build that credibility, it will be very difficult for you to influence them if you don't prioritize their needs, right? Imagine someone says, I don't want to go to school because I don't believe in formal education. What I want to do is learn a skill, practice that skill, and start applying it. And you're there insisting that, no, I want you to go to school because that is the way. That person is never going to listen to you, and there is no way you're going to influence that person. But if you give them a listening ear, they feel understood that, okay, there is a reason why I want to go for these skills. And if I get these skills, I'll become this person and I can create this impact. Once you have given them that time, that patience, it becomes more easier for you to influence them, for you to give them the reasons why they should go to school before achieving the skills. I'm not saying that one is important or the other is not. I'm just giving a good example of how you need to be patient. You need to listen to other people, understand their needs before you can influence them. That is how leadership works. The next thing I'm going to give you is very powerful, and if you use it the right way, it is going to change the way you lead. It is very important that you keep this in mind, especially if you're working for an organization, if you're working in a team, or even in your family. It works everywhere. But before I do that, I need you to do me a favor. Double check if you're a subscriber to this channel, and if you're not, hit the subscribe button. That shows that what we're doing here makes a difference, and we deeply appreciate you for doing that. The next framework is lead by example. Yes, so many people have said it. It is easily said than done. And one thing I need you to understand is that action influences people more than words, right? People mirror everything that you're doing. What you're doing, the behavior that you possess, what you're trying to achieve, they are mirroring it, especially your team members. Don't be a professional who is not accountable for his or her action. No, you have to be predictable. They can see what you are up to, and they're going to mirror that. These minor changes in your organization or wherever you're functioning, they seem very simple, but everyone is noticing it. If you want people to be in that path, go towards that path. If you want people to be in this path, go towards this path. That is how influence works. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I've come to learn, leading by example. Because I know that action influences people more than words. Don't tell people that don't do this, and yet you keep on doing that. It is common in so many organizations, right? Even in churches where people preach about the gospel of the Lord and they go out doing some other things, right? It is common with teachers. They teach about certain subject, how important it is, and how you can become a great professional if you study this subject. But they themselves, they are not doing well. And sometimes you have to think from first principle. This is something that has worked for me in a very different way. People tell you that if you do this, you become this, right? You don't ask yourself, what is it that I know? Instead of what people say, because we are so invested in what people say rather than in what we know. You know very well that if you get skills, right, you're going to function better than someone who just have a formal education, a degree, but yet you still believe in purchasing that degree or trying to acquire that degree by all means. By first principle, you should know very well that having a skill in today's world, you're going to be better than any other person that has just a degree. But we follow the crowd, right? Which is not good. You need to lead by example. If you're telling people to get a skill, make sure you get a skill. Don't tell people to get a skill and then you're getting certificate. It doesn't make sense. That is not how leadership works. There is no way you're going to influence people that way. So lead by example. So what I need you to understand from everything I've shared is this. In every interaction that you make, you need to reflect. Did you guide people? Did you understand them? Did you see a difference in what you have done? Because influence grows when you understand people's need, when you understand their path, and most importantly, you work towards that path. And if you see that that path is not a path that is leading to growth, success, then it is not influence. That is authority. You're trying to make people be what they are not supposed to be. And one thing I have to tell you for free is this. You have to be very careful when you're moving towards a path of influence, because you might think that you're doing something great for another person, whereas you are killing them. Because there is this fear of expression when you are in a leadership position. When people perceive you as being authoritative, they withdraw their trust. And in that moment, leadership becomes a challenge for you. So I need you to put this in mind. In every leadership position that you are there for responsibilities. You are there to give more. It is not about taking. It is more about giving out to your community, to the society, to people, to your family, to everyone around your circle. And that is leadership. If anything I've shared with you today resonated, if it sparked a thought, a question, or even just a feeling, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. That will mean a lot to us. Thank you for being here.